guys, welcome or welcome back to Chocolate Covered Pages. I'm Kiona, and today I'm going to be talking about some of the fall releases that I'm really excited about. If you're a reader, obviously you know that fall is such a huge time for reading. There's so many books coming out in the fall, and I couldn't even put the whole list here, but this is just like a snippet because I have like an entire spreadsheet of like all the books that I want to get to, hopefully. Anyway, so let's get started. So the first book I want to talk about is Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson. I'm not going to get into that book again because it's already out now. I also talked about it in my other video called Books I've Recently Loved, which I'll link up above. And that book is so good. If you have not picked it up, make sure you do. I couldn't make this video without including that book if you hadn't already heard about it. It is a YA thriller, and it is basically about a young girl, I believe she's 16, Enchanted is her name, and she is pretty much an aspiring singer, and she meets this very much older R&B artist, Corey Fields, and he completely takes advantage of her, and we find out in the beginning of the book that he is dead. He is dead, and Enchanted Jones is found in his apartment while he's dead, covered in his blood. And we also get the background of how they met and how their relationship completely unfolded. It is a very good book. All the trigger warnings in the world: sexual assault, drug use, pedophilia, I mean, you name it, it's been put in this book, and it's been done very well, as is Tiffany D. Jackson's style. So make sure you pick that one up. Next book I want to talk about is Transcendent Kingdom by Ya Jasi. That is also out right now. I have not read this one. I definitely want to get to it because I really enjoyed her debut novel, Homegoing. That is one of my favorite books, and I always recommend that book. So Transcendent Kingdom is basically about a girl named Gifty, and she is in medical school studying depression and addiction. She has a brother that actually died of an overdose of heroin. Her mom is also very suicidal. Gifty is determined to use what she's learned in the scientific world to try to find out the basis of suffering from depression, and also the fact that it's coupled with religion. So we all know that when it comes to religion and science, things could get very strange. The premise sounds really interesting. It's also out right now. I think it came out maybe a week ago. The next book I want to talk about is Crosshairs by Catherine Hernandez. This book actually comes out December 8th, and it is a dystopian novel. In this book, the government rounds up all of the people of color, the disabled, the LGBTQ plus community, rounds them all up into these labor camps. I mean, this book sounds like my worst nightmare, pretty much. So a group plans an uprising, and it has an ex-drag queen in it, a trans-masculine refugee, a rogue army officer, a social worker. I mean, this just sounds like the most mishmash group of folks that they could round up together, and I love it. I love, like, found family tropes, and I love just groups of people that you wouldn't even probably think would be cool, but they have a common goal, so now they getting together. And also the cover is freaking gorgeous, so I'm excited to get to that one. Actually, I'm excited to get to all of these. I'm not going to say that again because every book is going to be like, I'm excited. I'm excited for all of them. The next book I want to talk about is When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. That book actually came out September 1st. I do have a copy. I'm hoping to get to it in October, but you know how things go. We'll see what happens. This is a thriller. I know, it's crazy, right? Alyssa Cole writing a thriller. Alyssa Cole is a romance author. And when I saw that she was writing a thriller, I'm like, well, I must have it. I must have it. And it's been getting really great reviews. So this is the dark side of when gentrification gets really, really scary. I mean, as a Brooklyn native, I've seen gentrification firsthand in my old neighborhood. If I go there, I don't see a lot of the businesses that were there when I was growing up. The area looks completely different. So I'm excited to get to that one. The next book I want to talk about is Too Much Lip by Melissa Lukashenko. And this book comes out November 3rd. So Carrie has always avoided prison and her hometown. Then she finds out that her father is dying and she is an inch away from lockup. So she goes back to her hometown, and of course that opens up old wounds. I love a trope like that. I love when people go back to their old town and then old secrets come up, and there's these old family wounds and stuff like that. And then also it says something about a romance in it, which, if it's done right, I'm always here for. And she also joins the fight to stop the development of a river that's in their neighborhood. So this sounds really interesting to me. And might I add, it's also translated fiction. And remember what I said about translated fiction, I need more of it. So I am taking the steps to do better. The next book I want to talk about is Bestiary by King Ming Chang. That is a mouthful. This book comes out September 29th, and it is a magical realism novel. So we follow 3 generations of Taiwanese American women. There's some strange things going on in this book. A character growing a tiger tail, another one trying to fly, another one with a belly full of snakes. There's some lesbian rep. I mean, I'm always here for very, very strange novels. I'm not always the craziest about magical realism, I'll be honest, but this one sounds really interesting to me. So I am definitely going to give it a try. Plus, I love the cover. The next book I want to talk about is A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. This is a YA fantasy that comes out September 29th. This book is about a school for the magically gifted, where if you fail, it means you die. Sounds dope, right? I mean, that's exciting, So basically, the school also will not allow its students to leave until they graduate or die, one or the other. Otherwise, they not leaving. So they can't walk the halls alone. And there's monsters lurking everywhere. And there's a student that we follow named Elle, and she has like this strong dark power, and she could pretty much end this whole thing. Like whenever she wants, she could just end it just like that. But the problem is, if she does, she will kill the students as well. Like that's how strong her magic is. So I love a school setting, period. I love a school setting, whether it's just like regular, high school, catty, annoying stuff like Mean Girls or whatever, or like this type of stuff. I love a magical school. And I've never read any Naomi Novik, like ever. I have wanted to read some of her books, but so far, this is the one that I'm like, okay, I want to read this first. So once I read this, then I will try to check out some other ones from her. If you've read her and you can recommend any of her other ones, let me know down in the comments, because I would like to get more into some of her books. The next book I want to talk about is One by One by Ruth Ware. This book is actually out right now. I haven't got my hands on it yet, but it's out right now and I will have it soon. So this book is Of course, a thriller. If you know Ruth Ware, you know what she's bringing. So this is an off-site company retreat that completely turns deadly. Everyone gets snowed in, and somebody is picking them off one by one, like the title, of course. So I that sounds pretty cool to me. I mean, obviously, if you've been reading thrillers for some time now, it's been done before, but I do want to see what Ruth Ware brings to the table for sure. I really enjoy Turn of the Key by her, so I really want to see what she does with this one. The next book I want to talk about is No Heaven for Good Boys by Keisha Bush. This book comes out October 13th. This book is about 6-year-old Ibrahima who joins his cousin to study the Quran for a year. What they don't realize is that the teacher will be sending them out to basically beg on his behalf, like every day. They won't really be learning the Quran. They're just there to go and line the teacher's pockets. So this book is also set in Senegal, which I'm really excited about because I don't read that many books that is set in Senegal. So in order for Ibrahima and his cousin to make it back home, they have to rely on each other despite constant threat from like gangs of boys, black market organ traders, protesters. This is her debut novel, so I'm really excited to get to it. I know it's probably going to break my heart, but you know, it happens. The next book I want to talk about is The Hole by Hiroku Oyamada. And this book comes out October 6th, and it is another translated fiction. So Aza's husband gets a new job and they move to a new town. So while she's running an errand for her mother-in-law, she comes across a strange creature. So she starts to follow this creature, and the creature leads her to like a riverbank, and she ends up falling in a hole. The hole apparently seems like it was made specifically for her. So she falls into this hole, and then things start to get crazy. She starts meeting crazy characters, just kind of leading her to question everything that she's ever known in the world. So this sounds like a Japanese Alice in Wonderland, if you ask me. So I'm super excited. To be honest, I've never actually read Alice in Wonderland. I tried. I couldn't really get into it. Yeah, so I want to read this. The next book I want to talk about is Daughters of Jubilation by Cara Lee Cawthron. And this is a YA fantasy that comes out October 13th. So this book is set in Jim Crow South, and it is about this girl named Evie, and she has these magical abilities that have been passed down to her from her ancestors from slavery. Her talents end up getting awakened, and something dark comes loose in her and threatens to resurface. I don't know, but it sounds really interesting. I read another book with a very, very similar premise called Remembrance by Rita Woods, and it was about the same thing. Black people getting special abilities from their handed down from their ancestors from slavery. And I think that premise is so dope. I want more books about this. So I'm really, really excited to pick this one up. The next book I want to talk about is another translated fiction. So this book is called At Night All Blood is Black, and it is written by David Diop, and it comes out October 6th. So this book is about a Senegalese man who ends up fighting with the French army during World War I with his friend. His friend ends up getting seriously injured during the battle, and he asks him to pretty much put him out of his misery and kill him. But he does not do it. That moment haunts him. So he begins to sneak off and continue to go to enemy territory and kill random German soldiers. And every time he does it, he brings back one of their hands as a souvenir. So he completely unravels from not putting his friend out of that misery, and it haunts him. And I am really interested to know what happens in this book. Like, it sounds really, really interesting. So that is the last book I wanted to talk about. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please hit me with a like. Make sure you subscribe if you have not already. Make sure you share it with your friends. Let me know down in the comments below. Were you looking forward to any of these? What are you looking for that I didn't already include? So let me know. Anyway, bye-bye.